Good morning to all of you. It's a privilege to launch our Cervical Cancer Awareness Month today, and we are so happy to have all of you here. Cervical cancer, as we all know, is a very preventable disease, but it's a shame that we still continue to have women who have cervical cancer. That tells us that we've done some bit, but there's still a lot to be done. And so January every year is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. And for the Reproductive Health Unit, what we do every year is that we launch the program. We have some period of, screening, which is highly subsidized. And then we go onto the media and talk about cervical cancer. And so today is one of those unique occasions where we all meeting to launch our Cervical Cancer Awareness Week. And we are so happy to have all of you here. We're looking forward to a very exciting program. It is not just going to be exciting, but it's going to be educative. And we're hoping that all of us would be agents of change and will take the message that we're going to discuss today out there, because that is the only way that we'll be able to help stem the tide of cervical cancer in the country. So sit down, enjoy the program. Don't just get overly excited, but learn as much as you can as we go through this program. Once again, thank you very much and welcome to our Cervical Cancer Awareness Program launch today.
You can do it better for him, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And like you have rightly heard, we're going to do this together to ensure that cervical cancer is highly prevented in our country, Ghana, because we love our nation and we love our souls. I would want to take the singular honor to introduce some wonderful people we have in our midst here. And in fact, you can see the color red. I'm happy right from next week. It's going to be about red everywhere, red everywhere. Whether you like it or not, it is going to be red everywhere. And that alone tells us that it is not just about love, but Telecel. You know, the word alone is romantic. Telecel, like that, okay? We have some wonderful people here who are from Telecel Foundation, and they are, to a large extent, the push factors to this great program. We have in our midst here the Director of External Affairs from Telecel in the person of Mr. Kobla Boame. Please, shall we give it to him here? So, sir, you are most welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know, it is always an error if you find a fine gentleman without a lady by her side. And you know, go where it is when they will say that behind every successful man, there is a woman. It looks like because we've been hiding behind, they don't see us so clearly. So now we have decided beside every successful man, there is a woman. And so you see this beautiful woman who is pushing in a very great way. And she happens to be the administrator for Ghana Telecel Trust Fund. And Ghana administrator for Ghana Medical Trust Fund. Yes, the administrator for Ghana Medical Trust Fund in the person of Madame Obobia Dako Opoku. You can do it better for her. You saw the way she did like that. She's like, yeah. You know, we always do that because you can't take it from us as ladies. Okay. And there are some wonderful people, too, we have in the house. This brother, don't be deceived by the BS. You know, he is another wonderful person. Sometimes I'm amazed at the fact that people say that, hey, that man, he has so much time. He would ask you everything. Even if we don't want to talk, he will talk. And he doesn't know this, that people from somewhere are giving us feedback. And this is a brother that has been in Collywood Teaching Hospital for quite some years. And currently he happens to be the medical. He happens to be with the medical school, and he is, of course, the head of department for the medical school within the hospital in the person of Professor Bonsafo. Yes, you can see, you can see, you can see. About 8 years ago when we started this journey, this man who is so humble, so down to earth, even this morning, he would call Rosie, are you all right? Is everything in control? I want to be sure that you are fine. And then yesterday he called, and he will keep calling as if sometimes I wonder how he does it, because he's so much of a brother, a father, and I love the fact that it is protect her future. So he's told all the ladies in his office that you can't do otherwise than to screen and ensure that your girls are vaccinated. And he is the director for the public relations affair of Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We have Mr. Mustafa in the house. Yes, Mr. Mustafa, we are so grateful to having you here. And I have some two other fine fathers, gentlemen, who, like John the Baptist would say, I don't think I'm in the right position to even kind of tie or lay their lace. And so, for that matter, at the right time, we're going to introduce them to you. But you can see behind some beautiful ladies and gentlemen in that red, okay? That red. Shall we give it to them? All the staff from Telecel Foundation. We are so grateful to have you here. And then we have heads of nursing department from the various hospital, aspects of the hospital. They are in the house. The DCNOs, the CNOs, in fact, they are the mothers of the house. If they say we are not, trust me, you can't penetrate. And so shall we give it to them? But fortunately for them, they always say we will, we will, we will, we will. And so we are proud to have you as mothers here. And we also have the doctors, the residents, the consultants in the house. And so please show us by hand with a wave wherever you are. All the consultants amidst all the crowd. And you know we have another special person that we cannot continue without acknowledging. And that person, I want you to start with a clap. Just clap for the person. Just clap for the person. Keep clapping for the person. That person is you. Yes, so thank you so much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we want to thank you, the media partners. We have partners from UTV. We have the partners from TV3. We have the partners from other bloggers here who in due course we're going to introduce. And so at this moment, I'd want to invite up here for the introduction of our chairperson for this very beautiful occasion, as it is going to be delivered by Madam Frederica Koranche. Madam Frederica Koranche, shall we please welcome her up here as she does that. Madam Frederica Koranche, whilst Abigail Gamo also prepares herself for that of the special guest. Madam Frederica Koranche. We can do it better as it moves up here. We can do it better for her. We can do it better for. Give her some morale. You know, reproductive babes, we actually thrive on morale. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have an august personality to chair this program. And he has been gracious enough to accept this invitation, despite his busy schedules. Do you want to know who he is? Okay. So, he's one of the best doctors we have in Kolebu. And when it comes to cervical cancer, oncology, and everything cancers, he's one of the best doctors when we talk about the ONG doctors. He's no other person than Dr. Samuel, Professor Samuel Opon. Let us all welcome our chairperson for the program. Chairperson, your audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know what Frederica did, what it reminds me of? I remember when I was in Sunday school years back, my Sunday school teacher taught me that after, I said, pete pete sa no ho, me sha say ache. And don't be too surprised that you are seeing what you are seeing. It is from Sunday school. And then my Sunday school teacher was like, when you are done, remember to sing a song. It was a vote of thanks. And I'm a bone modian, make yene fe, near bone, say me cotton. Then I remembered, oh, I had to sing a song. Then I came back to that. I came back to the organizer that please, I had to sing a song. Then I collected the microphone and sang the song. Because I noticed that Frederica was almost giving the microphone to me. Then she remembered, okay, so Chairperson, your audience, Chairperson. Shall we give it to her? Shall we give it to her? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you, Prof. We would have to be certain that Prof is going to accept this big task that has been assigned to him. And so, Prof, we would want to take your brief remarks for acceptance. We can go do better for him.
Thank you very much, Rose. As I sat down and I was watching MC go back and forth, I'm like, hey, I didn't know Reverend Ministers can also MC occasions like this. So this one, I've mentioned another part of you that many people don't know. So let me say that CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam, the administrator of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, head of department of Ops and Ghani Medical School and the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and all other dignitaries gathered here. I'm sure many of you are aware of this ceremony or launch of cervical cancer awareness that has been taking place in this hospital and department for many years now. I think we must closely be approaching almost 10 years now. Yes, 2 years ago. Yeah. So this event started very small, but I'm happy to see that it's growing. Not just in terms of the number of people who attend the launching ceremony, but also the impact that this campaign keeps making every year. And in fact, it goes beyond the January-February Cervical Cancer Awareness Month in the country. And its impact is felt throughout the year. We have gathered here again this morning to launch another cervical cancer awareness. Not because we don't know that cervical cancer existed, but it's because you and I need to combine our efforts to increase awareness, make impact in the lives of people who suffer cervical cancer, and make sure that life is made better for all of them. I'm not a keynote speaker, so I'm not going to give you facts and figures of cervical cancer. Otherwise, you keep hearing it over and over again, and sometimes it becomes boring. But what I urge all of us today to do is that beyond this ceremony, let's keep the subject of cervical cancer on our minds and at the forefront of our minds for that matter. There is always one story about cervical cancer or fact about cervical cancer in this country that I can't go away without re-echoing. And I keep telling my medical students about these facts every year. In the year 2021, was it 2021? No, not 2021. There was a fire outbreak in Accra, following a heavy downpour at Cervical. Which year was that? Which year was that? 2018. Oh, okay. Or 16. 15. Oh, good. 2015. We all remember the fire disaster at Cervical, where this country lost about nearly 300 lives or so in one incident. Yes, death in any form is a big disaster. So as a country, we pledge ourselves that never again will there be such a disaster. I remember there was a presidential commission and a white paper was issued, and certain, policy statements were made. One of the key things I remember was that we pledge as a country never to experience such a thing again in this country. But do you know that every year in this country, there are about 5 such disasters that are going on silently without anybody knowing about it? There are over 1,500 women in Ghana who die from cervical cancer every year. And that is about 3 times the number of people who died in that Cervical fire outbreak. But these are women who die in their communities, in their homes, in district hospitals, regional hospitals, sometimes even teaching hospitals, including ours. So if you like, there are about 5 such national disasters every year. But has there ever been any commission on cervical cancer, prevention of cervical cancer death in this country? I'm not aware of. Is it because it affects women? I don't think so, because as a country, I don't think we discriminate against women. Is it because it's happening one individual at a time, and it doesn't all happen at the same time? Whatever the reasons are, we have a duty as a country to protect and preserve every life. And the life of every citizen of Ghana should matter to all of us. I just want all of us to think about this and ask ourselves, as a country, as individual Ghanaians, as healthcare workers, as people in the media, as people of influence that people listen to. Even if you're a blogger, people visit your blog and you count the number of visits and you are happy about it. You have a way of influencing people. What can you do? What can I do? What can we do together, collectively, to prevent these deaths? I leave that for all of us to think about. On that note, I heartily accept to chair this launch of the Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and I look forward to a very exciting program for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We can do it better for him once again. And so, in as much as we love the affairs of women, if you were in the Methodist Church, the song that would have sung is that a child to keep I have, a God to glorify, and never dying soul to live. And so if we have a great charge, the charges we want our women to survive, they must live. Recently, I went to one of the units here, and when you get there, it's so heartbreaking. The young women who should be in their ages that are supposed to be contributing to their families, contributing to the GDP of the nation, they are right on their hospital bed. As to whether they will go home alive, we do not know. And as to whether when they are going to go is another thing to tell. 27, 22, 32, 33, and you ask yourself why. The youngest, at least, I have heard about cervical cancer lady who had died right in this hospital was just 22. Subtract 22 from your years and look at it, she's gone. The youngest, we had to remove everything about her womb because if we give her the next 6 months, it is going to turn into something else. Was just 23, a tertiary institution student. It could be your sister, it could be your daughter, it could be your employee, it could be anybody. Never think cervical cancer is far from you. For as long as you have a cervix, it is a possibility. But that is what we do not want to happen. We don't want to continue to see people who have the disease, like Prof said, together we're going to fight it. And I know we will do that better to ensure we are all safe in the nation. So clap for yourself once again. And then Prof, thank you so much for accepting to chair this great occasion. 2 years to come, we're going to be 10 years since we started this. When we started cervical cancer screening, we had as many as 1,005 women in the space of 3 months. Some came from Takoradi, some came from Takwa region, all because they were. It is really a great pleasure, if you're excited to be here today, that almost every facility cancer on the social media platform, I think we started with you. You can do it better for yourself because you have lived to see today. And we're going to live to see the decade celebration on that one. So today we are saying we have to protect her future. And we have here to acknowledge the Director of Nursing and Midwifery, who also happens to double as a Reverend Minister, in the person of Reverend Mrs. Ime Akote, the DNMS of Konebu Teaching Hospital. So she's a fine sister. You see, a fine one at that. Today, the ladies, they are taking the shine. I love that. I love that. I can see. God bless you, beautiful ladies. And then we also have here this fine brother who, for him, call him anytime he's there. Ask him to be CEO, he would. Ask him to be head of department, he would. Put him wherever medical affairs he is there. And so fortunately this time, he is the medical director for Konebu Teaching Hospital in the person of Dr. Frank Owusu-Setre. Yes, you can see, he's a fine brother. Bro, God bless you so much. God bless you so much. And as of this one, I'll do it just under low key. Never think I have forgotten if we have a grandmother, we have a grandfather. And this is another awesome man who I have not encountered him for long, but the work he is doing, it is highly exciting, and I know that God is going to give him the grace to continue to change the face of Konebu Teaching Hospital. And so at the right time, we're going to introduce him. But please, we can do it the first time to the CEO of Konebu Teaching Hospital. At the right time, the detail of everything is going to come. So that, those of you, tell us how you see, we have a fine gentleman in the house who are so, a very fine one, you see. Thank you so much. So at this moment, as we are sitting and enjoying the sessions, we're going to take a brief address from partners. And the first one is going to come from the Director of External Affairs in the person of Mr. Komla Boame from Telecel. Shall we please give it to him as he climbs up here to give his address? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Reverend Rose. I've gotten it correct. Good morning. So I'm on a campaign. Anywhere I go to speak and I greet, I realize that the response to the greeting doesn't come so strongly. So my campaign is to start and repeat the greeting so that everybody goes along with us. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay, so we are getting there. Right, Prof. Chair, it's interesting that I've seen a lot of gallant men assembled here to be discussing cervical cancer. Particularly because when women are healthy, the men are the beneficiaries. We get so much happy to see women so healthy. And so I'm happy that we have so many men seated in front here for this conversation. Fine gentleman CEO for Konebu, as we've been made to know. The administrator, ever hard working administrator for the Mahama case, and our partner, professors, heads of department, ladies and gentlemen. Before I joined in this auditorium a few minutes ago, I was on social media trying to see what is the latest stories for the day. And I'm sure many of you also were on social media just to see what is trending. And I realized a very young man from all the way in the US is in Ghana, doing a lot of acrobatics, having some nice massage, and also eating our jollof. and saying that our jollof is second to Nigeria. Whilst I was doing all of those search on social media, I wanted to see if there's a deliberate conversation around cervical cancer, given that this is the month that we are marking that, if you like, celebration. And there seems to be little or nothing much to be told about this. And to hear Prof. Chair, a staggering 1,500 women dying every year of this ailment, I think that the essence of this gathering cannot be overstated. It's important that all of us, as we go through this education today, we go through the learning to know what we could do to prevent cervical cancer. We go out there to tell the story. And that is why last year, the last quarter of last year, through our partners at the Mahama Cares, of course, through the request that came from the administrator, we have partnered with Kolebu Teaching Hospital to donate a high-end cervical cancer screening equipment to this hospital, which is already in use. When that single request came from the Mahama Cares, we thought it was just one equipment, but they said no, they wanted more than one. And so we went again all the way to Tamale Teaching Hospital and did similar donation there as well. And so as we speak here, the same equipment we have here in Tamale Teaching Hospital, it's also there as well. And that is not all. Okay, number two, give us a second clap, yes, and I'll mention a third one. From Tamale, we went all the way to Cervical, also government hospital as well, to ensure that we have similar equipment there, which is also running. Screen free of charge in partnership with the hospitals that we are working with. Our presence here today is highly symbolic. For us, our foundation work or donations are just not photo opportunities where we say, okay, we've given you items, let's take pictures, daily graphic, front page, let it be there, and just we go to bed. We believe that real impact lies when there's a highest utilization of equipment that we donate. And so our presence here is to participate in this event to drive utilization of the equipment that we have donated, to ensure that all the women we have in this auditorium, even beyond, get to be screened, and that will give us the joy that we have donated, and what we have donated is really making a lot of impact. And so my plea to you on this particular day, as we are gathered in here, is to ensure that not only you, but become a relative, a friend, a mother, or somebody who is so dear to you to come to any of these three facilities and tell them that in the name of Telecel, you should be screened free of charge using our consumables. At Telecel, it is not just about issues concerning cervical cancer, but day by day, we have deliberate effort to ensure that our contributions matter when it comes to healthcare delivery. In the months of November and December, every year, we have an exciting program we call Homecoming. Homecoming, what we do is that we visit major hospitals in the country, and patients or people who have been treated, discharged, but don't have the funds to pay before they are asked to go home, we take it upon ourselves to pay all those bills for all those who are in various hospitals. And so just last month, we've selected a number of hospitals, and almost 300 people have been discharged and they've been let go. We paid all their bills. If our fine gentleman CEO is able to lobby me very well, this year would come here to ensure that all those who are on admission would also be doing. This club is a huge responsibility on the CEO to lobby us very well, otherwise we'll choose a different facility. Not only that, we also have what we call our rural ultrasound screening that happens in the remote communities. We've selected a number of very remote areas that hardly will you see nurses or doctors in those villages, and our medical team goes there to ensure that they also screen and that they're able to give birth to very healthy children. Apart from that also, on regular basis every quarter, we have health screening that happens in many communities, and these are some of the ways by which we are able to also give back to the communities that which you do. What it also means is that in order for us to give back, you are also giving us something. And so I want to encourage all of you, if you are not yet on Telecel, you are missing something. So usually once I hold the microphone, I need to ensure that you are on that 020050 number as well, so that we can also continue to give back to the communities. We believe that today's opportunity is going to be one that will be utilized by all of us, one that will become not just a regular function that will say that every year we are gathered in this particular cerebral auditorium to mark an awareness month of cervical cancer, but it's going to be a call to action that would deliberately would be so much worried to hear that 1,500 women die every year from this ailment, and so there will be a bigger responsibility on us. Whatever you can do as an individual, whatever you can do as an institution, let us all together ensure that we deliver to the ultimate, and that I'm sure that it could be your mother, my mother, or any other person that will be saving through the advocacy that we'll create. We want to thank all of you, and also to call out the media, our partners, that just as we are giving a lot of publicity to the very young man who is, of course, he deserves it to be in Ghana here, give huge awareness also to issues around cervical cancer. And by that, policymakers, regulators would also give it the attention that it deserves. I believe that today's function would definitely be one of excitement, and the partnership between Telecel and Kolebu, and of course the Mahama Cares, would continue. And I'm sure next year when we are gathered here, we'll mention many more things that we have done, so that you keep clapping whilst I give all my address. On this note, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Also, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Like Angela would say, these are the sweetity things, you know. It is sweetity things. It is sweetening me. The fact that we know that this is going to continue until we need no more, it is a great excitement. And don't worry, as for our CEO, he's good. And you know, you see that fine lady there? It will amaze you when ladies decide that they're going to get it from you. We don't do it like in a manly way. That kind of romantic touch. That kind of, oh, we know, you don't worry. Any amount will do. Oh, any number will do. Oh, any this will do. Before you realize you have done it all. And so shall we give it to them in advance that they're going to keep up the relationship, and we're going to do it better in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to ensure that not only cervical cancer is prevented, but even our women and any other person in the hospital who may need some level of assistance is given that support. I have our media team again here, and please help me to acknowledge the presence of UTV once again. We can give it to them, please, wherever they are, wherever you are, please give it to them for me. We have Joy News in the house. Please, you can do it better for them. City FM is also in the house. We have Adom FM in the house. We have GH Article also. We have Kobiche and Shika Officials. They are the bloggers that are in the house. And so today, this discussion is not only centering here, it is across, because like it was said earlier, a lot of things are on air, a lot of things are on the social media platform. I think even before you leave here, you can decide just a message. It is an error for a woman to die out of cervical cancer, and you see the way we go viral. Do anything with cervical cancer so that until we completely say we have eliminated it, we cannot say we are tired. And I know we're going to do that together. Thank you so much. And so as we are so seated, we're going to take a brief remark from the administrator for Ghana Medical Trust Fund and the person of Madame Obobia. Shall we please welcome her upstairs here? Thank you, Mom.
Thank you very much. I don't intend to say much since our partners have spoken. But first of all, let me acknowledge Prof. Chairperson, Professor Samuel Pong. Thank you very much for your time. Let me also acknowledge the CEO of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Medical Director, and our partner Telecel, head of the department that has always dealt with us. And the partnership has been strengthened every now and then. We want to say thank you very much to all of you. And then thank you once again for the opportunity to speak. I also want to appreciate the department. You've done this for 8 years, 8 solid years. Can we get some applause for the... We can't wait to celebrate a decade of this project. First of all, let me begin by sincerely acknowledging the Telecel Foundation for the donation of the cervical cancer screening equipment made in the name of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Sirioso Government Hospital, and the Tamale Teaching Hospital. This is not just a symbolic gesture. It is not charity for applause. It is a deliberate intervention that will save lives, and for that, we say thank you very much to the Telecel Foundation. This is what true partnership looks like: practical, intentional, and life-saving. Beyond protocol, let me say this clearly, that today is not just an event. Today is a statement that women's lives matter, a statement that prevention also matters, a statement that the future of our mothers, sisters, daughters, and wives, and even friends is worth protecting now and not later. Let us be very honest with ourselves. In Ghana, more than 3,000 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer every single year, and 2,000 of them will not survive. That means 2 out of every 3 women who hear that diagnosis will not live to tell their story. Not because cervical cancer cannot be treated, not because medicine has failed us, but because the disease is often discovered too late. This initiative is especially significant because it marks the launch of the Cervical Cancer Screening Awareness Month, and this campaign is very, very important. Today is about setting the agenda, shaping national conversation, and mobilizing action around early detection. Through this campaign, the Telecel Foundation is also using this platform, voice, and influence to bring cervical cancer screening to the center of public consciousness. This is leadership that understands that awareness, when done deliberately, drives behavior, demand, and ultimate access. Today, we appreciate you. We know that this is a very bold decision, and we at the Ghana Medical Trust Fund are telling you this morning that we are with you every step on the way. Remember that when you take a step, we are behind to support you. So today, we came just to tell you that it's a new partnership with you, and we look forward to many, many good things that are coming up together. So once again, congratulations and God bless you.
You can do it better for her. So I love the fact that she says that we are doing this together all the way. We can please do it again for them. Because yes, this commitment, like I said, is going to be intentional. So we're going to do it together as people who know indeed what they want to do for their nation, not only for themselves as individuals. Thank you very much, Mom, for your delivery. We appreciate it. Friends, at this moment, we need to appreciate the fact that even as we started this beautiful program, we need to have the guests of honor taken up. And so I'll call back again Ms. Frederica Crunchy to introduce the guests of honor, and then from there we roll on to his session. Shall we please do that better?
Aren't we blessed today? We are. We have all these great people here to support us. We are very blessed. Let's give a round of applause. Okay, so I'm here again. I'm coming to introduce our special guest of honor. We all know him. He's one of the greatest doctors we know in Kolebu. A very, very good, well-respected consultant ophthalmologist who is now the father of Kolebu. So far, he's been here for barely a year, but he has made very great impact in the hospital, which we can all testify to. And we are blessed to have him accept our invitation, even though it was very short notice. And with how busy his office is, he still made time to come. Let us give a round of applause for our CEO, Dr. Adam Yakubu Seju. He's our guest of honor for the program today. Thank you, Doc, for coming.
Thank you. Please, you can do it better for this one. Yes, so please, I think we can all pull out our phones because as we're talking about social media and engagement, it is about you. Sometimes we want to push a lot of things that you yourself, you know that this one that I'm pushing, the person may ask questions about it. But so it is about cervical cancer. It is about prevention. It is about protect her future. And so we are live on all the social media handles of Kolebu Teaching Hospital and other media platforms. So please, the link is on the Kolebu Teaching Hospital page. Can you do well? Share to your friends out in wherever you are. And I know that Telecel is doing the same, and so the whole nation, everywhere, alongside with the media partners that we have, is going to be all about cervical cancer, which is not going to end today, but it will continue to objective is achieved. We have here, before we give the guest of honor the space to deliver his notices, we want to introduce directors from the hospital. We have Dr. Charles Ofe-Palm, who happens to be the Director of Pharmacy, Kolebu. Director of Pharmacy, Kolebu. And then we have Mrs. Cynthia Dechi. Mrs. Cynthia Dechi is the Acting Director of General Services. Yes, ma'am, thank you so much for coming. And then we have Mrs. Felicity Combe. Felicity Combe, Deputy Director of Supply Chain. And so all the supply issues, yes, you can see here. Thank you very much, Feli. And then we have Mr. Ibrahim Abdul Jaja. Wow, I like this one. Abdul Jaja. Yeah, so please, you can do it better for him. Yeah, so this is the Acting Chief Internal Auditor. Nice to have you all, Mrs. and Mr. Thank you so much for your time. We're hoping that together we're not going to end in the gynae unit. We're not going to end at reproductive health. We are not ending at the various just unit. Because administratively, when a vision is embraced, you know that your matter is simple. It is like Elijah would say, this is a simple matter before God. And so this is going to be a simple matter to ensure that we all prevent cervical cancer. And so please help me right on stage here to welcome our CEO to give us his notices. So please, this is our guest of honor. You can do it better. Oh, please, maybe if you want to be upstanding to give a standing ovation, you can do it better for him. Yes, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Today is a very exciting day for all of us. Yes, again, today we have Telecel here, and today we have Mahama Cares too here again. We want to clap for them. They have been very helpful to us. Can we give them a round of applause? Mr. Chairman, Professor Chairman, the Administrator, Mahama Cares, Directors, Departmental Heads, staff of this great hospital, the leadership and staff of Telecel Ghana, our friends from the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am exceedingly happy to be part of the launch of the cervical cancer awareness and screening campaign, which is on the theme, Protect Her Future, Prevent Cervical Cancer Now. I begin by commending the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology for initiating and sustaining this campaign over the past 8 years. As a hospital, we see it as our duty to sensitize the public about this disease, which remains the only cancer that is completely preventable. We therefore support and remain committed to the fight against cervical cancers. As this effort significantly reduces the disease burden on the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. This is particularly important because cervical cancer this is particularly important because cervical cancer constitutes more than 60% of all female reproductive cancers seen at our obstetrics and gynecology department. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, victims of this debilitating condition who are mostly poor and underprivileged occupy our care spaces for prolonged periods, requiring multidisciplinary care and often crowding out other patients. It is therefore in our collective interest as a hospital to deepen our advocacy efforts in order to significantly reduce the burden and incidence of cervical cancers in Ghana. In this respect, we will want to continue to adopt a dual approach of strengthening prevention and awareness advocacy, while also offering comprehensive treatment to affected persons. Kolebu Teaching Hospital remains a veritable one-stop center for the management and treatment of cervical cancer patients. Mr. Prof. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to use this opportunity to commend the government of Ghana for rolling out an immunization program aimed at preventing the spread of cervical cancers. I further commend the Mahama Cares initiative for partnering the corporate organizations such as Telecel to donate equipment for the detection and management of cervical cancer at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. While these efforts are highly commendable, prevention remains the surest way to reduce and eventually eliminate these cancers. I therefore wish to appeal to the government to scale up the immunization program, which I'm sure they are doing, to cover all young girls and vulnerable groups across the country in order to curb and spread this debilitating disease. As a hospital, the board and management will continue to provide leadership. The board and management will continue to provide leadership in the fight against cervical cancers. On this note, I wish to commend the organizers and our corporate partners and to formally declare 2026 Cervical Cancer Awareness and Screening Campaign duly launched. And before I sit down, I want to also let everybody know that as a hospital, we are working around the clock to ensure that we make our 24/7 services comfortable for our staff. On this note, we want to send a message that we deliver 24/7 services at the Ops and Ghana department. We are also working to give extended cervical cover for our patients at the Ops and Ghana department. As we all know, this is a training and a research institution, and we are working on a number of collaborations to consolidate our position when it comes to research and training. I'll also use the opportunity to announce that we are introducing IVF services at our Ops and Gyne department for the poor. And this can only be achieved through teamwork, that we are working together. On this note, I want to thank Telecel Ghana. They have been very consistent when it comes to support. And we want to thank them. We also want to thank the administrator of the Muhammad case. He has been here many times, and we always welcome her. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, so please, we can do it better for him once again. So the board will provide leadership in the fight against cervical cancer. And I'm excited about the IVF that we're going to take off. And you know my excitement, by all means, you need a healthy cervix to go through the process of achieving pregnancy and delivery. And so if we're excited, then it means that by all means, cervical cancer, away, cervical cancer, away, cervical cancer, away. We're going to do that so that we can have healthy mother, healthy baby to, enjoy all the resources that the fine brothers, fathers will give to us because they are protecting our future. Thank you once again, sir, for this time. And so we're going to learn now that we know that, yes, we have taken all these information and we need to have accurate, adequate, timely information to share with the general public, to share with our family, and to share with all other people. We're going to take the first presentation, and it's going to be on HPV vaccination, understanding the scope, dispelling the myths. HPV vaccination, understanding the scope, dispelling the myth. And this presentation, the first one, is going to be handled by the head of the Reproductive Health Center. I think, please, shall we applaud Reproductive Health Center for the yeoman's job they do? Yes, so this is Prof. Asa Opoku is going to take the first presentation. Thank you so much, sir. So whilst we wait in the next few minutes to get it projected, I would appeal with media team and sound engineers to give us some background music. Whilst again we're waiting for that, I want to see by hand those in the house who have screened in the last 5 years. I have widened the scope. By all means, you should fall in. 5 years, doors. 5 years. In the last 5 years. Wow. 5 years. Please, any staff rep from reproductive health, I'd want you to help me here because these people are going to get free screening when we start next week. Staff from reproductive health. I don't want additional hands because it looks like now the hands are increasing. So those hands who were up, Sister Frederica, can you please help me? Those who in the last 5 years have screened. Hey, some people said their wives have screened because it is protect the future. I love that one. So the hands of the men are up for the women. Yes, so we're going to give you some great offer. Thank you so much. Let's see those who have vaccinated yourselves. You have vaccinated yourselves. Wow. I have two. This one, I have to go to the foundation to get some support for free vaccination for okay, so that is great. And okay, so let's see those who have vaccinated your children. So those of you tell me whose hands have been down all this while. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? You are not screening. Your children are not vaccinating. And so what again? Oh, shall we give it to them up there? Give it to them there. Yeah, their children. I have just a few. So you know one thing I have noticed in my practice as a health professional, A lot of us have become like notice board, like beautifully static at a place, giving direction. So you see the arrow pointing there. So please, the CEO has other equally pressing engagements to attend to, and same with the director and the administrator. And so please, in their absence, other team members will sit in and the program would continue. And shall we please give them some applause? They have done well. We thank you for your time. We thank you for your attention. We thank you for the insightful messages you gave us. And this relationship we know is going to continue. Director Nelson is going to represent the CEO. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we can do it better for them as they step out. Yes, at least they need escorts. Don't worry. Some are giving them the escort. Others would come back soon. Thank you so much. I was saying that a lot of us have become like notice boards. We direct to the screening side. Some people will say that go to reproductive health. Into tall building be no not adjacent. It means that you are coming from surgical direction. So the is towards the obs and gynae department, maternity, and behind it, and then they will direct you. But I know people who do not even know where reproductive health is located. As for the students, we are not talking about them. But I want you to know that the youngest we have lost through cervical cancer was just 22. Do not wait till it gets your turn. Take the opportunity to screen. Take the opportunity to talk about it. All the social media things that we do, if we can invest that energy into cervical cancer prevention, it would go a long way to help us. That would go a long way to help us. Thank you. So after this presentation, the next we would take is also going to be very great. And the presenter would be Dr. Nikwe, who is onco-gynae specialist. And he's going to present on HPV vaccination to screening, the continuum of cervical cancer prevention. After which we're going to have a panel discussion, and that is going to be interesting because we're going to look at in preventing cervical cancer so far, what have been the gaps, what would be our rules, and what will be the way forward. You can begin to think of your questions, begin to jot them down as the presenters get ready so that we can get running.
Hello. Right, so good morning or afternoon, and sorry for the brief hitch. We are going to be talking about HPV vaccination, understanding the scope, and then dispelling myths relating to HPV vaccination. So let me start by giving us a few figures in relation to HPV and then cervical cancer globally and in Ghana. So cervical cancer is the fourth most common cancer globally. So if you take, cancers among women, cervical cancer, the whole world ranks number 4. All right, and 660,000 new cases are recorded every year globally, and out of this, about half of them eventually succumb or die because of the disease. Now, of all the people who die from cervical cancer, close to 95% of them are from low and middle income countries, which includes us, all right? And most of these places are in sub-Saharan Africa, and then Central America, and then some parts of Southeast Asia. The main cause of cervical cancer is human papilloma virus, and I'm sure we all know about that. And there are at least 14 high-risk human papilloma viruses that are linked to cervical cancer. Now, when you come to Ghana, the situation is that every year about 300,000 new cases of cervical cancer are recorded. All right, and out of this, close to 1,007 of them, we can approximate and say close to 2,000 of them die. So of all the women who have cervical cancer every year in Ghana, about 2/3 of them die from cervical cancer, and that is a big issue, and that is why we are having this conversation today. Right, and in Ghana, it is the second commonest cancer, and it comes second to breast cancer. But I keep saying that it's a shame because, for cervical cancer, it is preventable. It is preventable. It is preventable. So once we see it high up there, we all get worried and we think there's a lot that has to be done. There's a high mortality rate from cervical cancer. 2/3 of the people die because most of the time people don't screen. They come in very late when the disease is spread, and that is the problem that we face. Vaccination against cervical cancer is so important. Most of the countries that have made progress with cervical cancer prevention have a very good routine cervical cancer vaccination program. Now, in terms of the vaccines, there are different types of the vaccines. Earlier on, we had the bivalent vaccine, Cervarix, all right, in Ghana, which is protective against cervical cancer 16 and 18, and is given as an injection, okay, at 0 and at 6 months if you are doing 2 doses. But if you are doing a single dose, you get a single shot, all right. Then there is also the one that contains what we call the quadrivalent vaccine, which is called Gardasil. Now, with this vaccine, it is protective against cervical cancer 6, 11, 16 and 18 HPV causative forms of the cervical cancer, all right? And it is also given as an injection. It's important to note that the last point there, that even though this vaccine is protective against 6, 11, 16 and 18, and you can see that these are the viral strains that are indicated there, it is also protective. So there's some cross protection against other HPVs. This point is very important because I will draw on this point later on in this submission. That even though this particular vaccine is protective against 6, 11, 16 and 18, it is also known to be protective against other viral strains like 45, 31, 33. You can have some cross protection, and these are very important things to note. So there is also the third one, which is Gardasil 9, all right, and has components that are protective against 6, 11, 16, 18, 31, 33, 45, 52, and 58 viral strains, and it's very protective. These vaccines that we've talked about are not protective against only cervical cancer. They are also protective against what? Okay, so they don't just protect against cervical cancer, but they protect against what? They protect against cancers of the penis as well. They protect against some throat, and mouth cancers as well. So remember that the vaccination that we are talking about, even though it is protective against cervical cancer, it has some extended protection against other forms of cancers. And so that is worthy of note. The vaccines that we present are made up of what we call virus-like particles. So they are not exactly the virus itself, but they contain what we call virus-like particles, all right? And these virus-like particles, when they are introduced into your system through an injection, would cause your system to begin to produce antibodies. And these antibodies would fight against any HPV that gets into your system, provided you produce antibodies against that HPV. So that is how these particles work. And they are strongly immunogenic. When we say that, it means that once they get into your system, they have a very rapid, speedy way of getting your system to produce a lot of antibodies. And that is how they help you to fight against the cervical cancer causative organism, which is the human papilloma virus. Right. Just a minute. All right. So in terms of vaccination scope, the WHO now recommends a single dose of the human papilloma virus for people. So you know that countrywide, the nation is taking on vaccination against cervical cancer, and girls between the ages of 9 to 14 now are being vaccinated, and they are getting a single dose of the vaccine. And a single dose of the vaccine now is known to be protective against these girls. When the vaccination started in the past, we were talking about 3 doses, but with research and the experience of vaccinations, now we know that just a single dose is protective against these girls. So a dose is good enough, all right? And HPV vaccine can prevent up to 90% of cervical cancer cases. So HPV vaccine has been known to be very efficacious. It's been known to be efficacious in multiple countries. All right, We know that sub-Saharan Africa, like I've mentioned already, has the highest prevalence of HPV, and vaccination coverage in our part of the world is quite low, which is worrying. It is very low until recently, when this vaccination of school children started. The numbers that had vaccinated against cervical cancer, against HPV, was just a drop in the ocean. It's only a few people who've done that. All right, so it is good that we are beginning to ramp up cervical cancer vaccination, and there's the urgent need to scale up this vaccination. In the country, we know that in October 2025, the Ministry of Health, supported by UNICEF, WHO, and Gavi, started some cervical cancer vaccination for girls in schools, and the target is to reach about 2.5 million of these girls. In terms of our local advocacy towards cervical cancer prevention, different organizations have been involved in this. The Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service have been at the forefront talking about the need for cervical cancer vaccination, because this is very important. Now, the Society of Obstetrician Gynecologists of Ghana, SOGOG, has also been at the forefront of this, talking about the need for vaccination against cervical cancer. We know that the Pediatric Society of Ghana were also really involved in sensitization before the launch of the cervical cancer vaccination program in our schools. Then also the Reproductive Health and Family Planning Unit has been keenly involved in, educating people and providing the service for cervical cancer vaccination. So if you want to be vaccinated against cervical cancer, the place to go is the Reproductive Health and Family Planning Unit here in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We know other hospitals and organizations are also doing this, and today our focus is on addressing the myths associated with cervical cancer vaccination and educating people and communities to know the truth and the realities about cervical cancer vaccination. And for all of us, our collective role is to advocate HPV vaccination in clinical settings and then also outside the hospital areas where people can be vaccinated, to educate patients and caregivers on the benefits of the vaccine. So we are here. Like I said, we shouldn't just get excited about this program, but when we go to tell others the importance of cervical cancer vaccination, we should support the integration of cervical cancer vaccination into our routine immunization program, the expanded program on immunization. So very soon, as part of the immunization schedule for children, there will be a point where they will have cervical cancer vaccination, and that is the surest way by which we can reduce this burden of cervical cancer. There may be the need to also hold community outreaches and awareness programs, and we should all be part of these teams that will go out to educate people about cervical cancer. Now, before I wind down, I want to talk about a few myths and misconceptions when it comes to the use of the cervical cancer vaccine, which is the HPV vaccine. The myth is that there is a lot around that makes people shy away from having the vaccine. One of the key things is that people think that the vaccine causes infertility. I mean, I've heard people say, don't mind them. It is some people who said that they don't want white people, they don't want black people to reproduce and have children. And so they design something that when you use, you will never be able to conceive again. They've seen that there are so many people, the population is growing, so they want to curb that. And that is why they brought this thing. Me, no, I'm not going to do this thing, and I'm not going to let my children have it. Please, this is a myth and not backed by any data. All right? Then, people also think that if I let my children go for this vaccine, they are going to be promiscuous. that is what some people have said, that if they allow their girls, their boys to have this vaccine, they are going to be promiscuous. There is no data to back that. Whoever wants to be promiscuous would be what? Promiscuous. The person is not going to be promiscuous because she's been vaccinated against HPV. All right. Now, there have also been some, people are spreading this information that the vaccine contains microchips. And so when they give you the vaccine, you have a chip and people can follow you wherever you go. And they can do all sorts of things. You become like a robot. And we've heard about that as well. That is also a myth, all right? And there is no truth in that. Some people also say that we have everything in our plants. We've heard some people say that there are plants, there are herbs that when you take, you are good to go. Don't mind these people with their white medicines. Until now, we don't know about herbs that are protective against HPV. Maybe something like that may be found in the future, but now there is no herb that is protective against. So if you go and they tell you that this bitters, now there are a lot of bitters in the system. This one, it will burn all the HPV. Please, it's a lie. If they tell you these herbs, they would kill all the HPV, it's a lie. We don't have things like that at the moment, all right? Then they also say that cervical cancer is not beneficial for women who are sexually active. And this one I want to repeat. I wish I could amplify my voice with this bit, because this is a big misconception that is preventing people from having the vaccine. We know that ideally the vaccine should be given to people before they start being sexually active. And so the vaccine should be given to children 9 to 14. But there are people who are already sexually active, and they keep asking, if I'm sexually active, can I have the vaccine? It's a question that keeps coming all the time. Yes, if you are sexually active, you can have the vaccine. I want to repeat that again. If you are sexually active, you can have the vaccine. The only problem is that if you are sexually active and you've acquired some HPV type already, remember we said there are different types of HPVs. If you have acquired some HPV type as an infection already, the vaccine will not protect you against that particular type of HPV. But the others that you haven't acquired, the vaccine will protect you against them. Is that clear? So the vaccine will protect you to an extent, not as full as it would have been if you hadn't become sexually active, but it will protect you. And therefore, even those who have become sexually active can have the vaccine if they want. Now, if you are going to have the vaccine and you have been sexually active already, and you have tested for, you've had your pap smear and HPV screening in the past 3 to 5 years, there's no need to be tested for the HPV before the vaccine. What I mean is that you don't check for the HPV just because you are going to have a vaccine. No, that is not how it's supposed to be. Once you followed your screening with HPV, and PAP, you just follow that routine. And you don't need to be tested just because you are going to have the vaccine. It's important we know that. And then there is also a myth that cervical cancer vaccination is not beneficial when you are above 14 years. That's also a lie. Like I've explained, even when you are above 14 years, you would get the benefits of cervical cancer. Okay, but the most opportune time where it serves its purpose most is the 9 to 14 years as indicated. And then there's also the myth that cervical cancer vaccination protects against other sexually transmitted infections like gonorrhea and syphilis. Gonorrhea is caused by a bacterium, and so it does not, the vaccine against cervical cancer does not protect against gonorrhea. So it's important that we know that that vaccine does not protect against these other sexually transmitted infections. So in conclusion, what I would say is that the WHO is talking about a 90-70-90 target for cervical cancer prevention. All right, that 90% of girls would have been vaccinated. Okay, and we are expecting that as we started our vaccination drive, we'll all be advocates so that we get 90% of our girls vaccinated. All right, 70% of people would have been screened by the time they're about 35, years. Okay, and so screening is not replaced by vaccination. If somebody is being vaccinated, we expect that person to continue screening. It doesn't mean that once you've been vaccinated, that is the end. You don't need screening. No, the two work together. You are vaccinated and then you continue your routine screening. That's very important. All right. And then the last 90 is that people who have either precancerous lesions of the cervix or invasive lesions of the cervix can have treatment for it. All right. HPV vaccination is life-saving, and everybody has a critical role to play in this advocacy and education bit of it. Together, we can all eliminate cervical cancer in Ghana. Let's dispel the myths and misconceptions that people have, and let's give them the right information as we all acquire them through education and interactions like this. Like we always say, prevention is better than cure. So let's all help to prevent cervical cancer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let's all help to prevent cervical cancer because prevention is better than cure. So we're going to please note your questions. Don't worry, at the right time you get the opportunity to ask all the questions. Yes, so we have here the father of the unit, the department, in the person of Dr. Tichi, my very good friend. He is my very good friend. Shall we please give it to him? You can see the eye. He's giving some romantic look here. Dr. Tichi, my very good friend. Thank you so much for coming. And so we have right behind her the mama of the house too, in the person of Mama Shirley Jesse. So please, we are pleased to have the mother and the father as well. I was waiting for the father so that I can introduce the mother. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming. And then from Child Health, we have Auntie Harriet. And then Cervical in the house, right? And then I saw the intensive care unit, the DCNO in charge. This is into me too in the house. Thank you. Yes, so at this moment we are continuing with the second presentation, right after which we will have the panel discussion. We are going to look from HPV vaccination to screening, the continuing cervical cancer prevention, of cervical cancer prevention. And this one, the person who can do it is an gynae oncologist in the person of Dr. James Nikwe. He thought he wanted to beat me before I finished with the introduction. I'll do this one.
Thank you very much. So I will not spend all your time. If I talk too much, my teachers and lecturers are here. look at the picture, you can see a cartoon of the uterus that has been cut or sectioned. Okay, and you can see that the end of the uterus is what we call the cervix, and it has been enlarged. And the pictorial view there is of the cervix. And what we are mainly interested in is the middle part, what we call the transformation zone of the cervix. That's where most cervical cancers occur, and that's where most of the screening modalities will try to sample and get the cells so it can be looked at. If you look at this picture here, you can see the plastic transparent device on top is what we call the speculum, and that's what will help us to be able to get access to the cervix. On getting access to the cervix, you can see all those rod-like structures. There are various types. They are basically doing the same thing. The aim is to help us to sample cells on the cervix, especially the transformation zone. And when we sample that, we put it in the containers that will contain a preservative for the pathologist to read. HPV is a test that can be done together with a cytology test, or it can be taken on its own. So with the cytology test, they can still use the cells you have placed in the fluid and do a study to find out of the HPV viruses you have picked up. If it's low risk, usually leave you alone. If it's high risk, it will require further screening test or further test. Then we have what we call VIA or villi. VIA just means visual inspection by acetic acid, while villi is visual inspection with Gauss iodine. So what we do is that acetic acid, 3 to 5%, most of you are familiar with it. It's just vinegar. We apply it to the cervix, and if there is a problem, it will change color. It becomes more whitish. That's what we call acid white. And those are the areas where we are concerned about. So what we do, we would biopsy that side and let the pathologist have a look. The same applies for the Lugos iodine. When I say we biopsy it, usually if there's a high-risk virus and any other confounders or anything else that would increase the need to treat, there are other algorithms I'll not bore you with. It will require that you have further studies. One study we'll do is the colposcopy you heard the Telecel boss talk about. Basically, it's just a light source with a magnifier that allows us to examine the cells where that have undergone changes, magnify them and have a better look at them. There are certain things we look out for that will tell us whether we are dealing with, we are getting closer to cervical cancer or we are not. Okay, we call them low grade and high grade. So that's what we will use to examine. Okay, if you take for example when I said the HPV can also be sampled on its own. We call it a self-sampling test, where a lady at her own convenience can take a sample and send to the pathologist for it to be read. If it's positive for any high-risk virus, then she has to go and have further tests where we will still stain or do the colposcopy and have a look at the cervix. What I'll leave you with is a take-home message Professor mentioned or talked about it. Cervical cancer is preventable. Screening is necessary even after vaccination. Early cervical cancer is curable. Screening does not mean you have cervical cancer. Sometimes you
do it better for him. So we have an ample time to select, treat, and get whichever option that is favorable for you. So while we're waiting briefly to move to the final session, we're going to watch a very brief video. But I would, waiting for that, introduce the moderator for our next segment. So media team is going to help us with the video. Thank you. Whilst waiting for them, I would want us to give some level of applause to the team at the Child A. They are doing awesomely well. Becky, Love, Bediako, please, next specialist, is she in the house? Okay. These are the people that I think regularly we need to give them some psychological support, because it is traumatic to be working in a space where almost every day you are seeing patients, not like their condition is getting any better, but sometimes deteriorating. For as long as you come there, you see them. Recently, I are having insomnia. A number of them are even having delayed menses because of the psychological stresses. I know we are all going to look for support for them, so that when their patients come, they would get ample financial support for the care they need and to stay healthy for their discharge. I have the lead person for communication at Telecel in the person of Henry Debin, who would be the moderator for the next session. And so please, let's welcome up here Mr. Henry Debin. The name is unique. You can see his as his name. So Mr. Henry Debin, thank you to have you as our moderator for the next phase of the session right after the video.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, when I say Telecel, you say connecting energies. Telecel. Telecel. But today is the Telecel Foundation, which is a social impact vehicle that is organizing this today with Kolebu Teaching Hospital against cervical. So I'm wondering, where did the pronunciation cervical come from? Anyone has a clue? We don't know. So that's a food for thought. So the word is cervical cancer. So yeah, let's pronounce it so well from henceforth. My director has said a lot. Director of External Affairs, Komla Buami. There are 3 advanced hospital and Sishiri also municipal hospitals. So the message is, we want as many women as possible to screen. So tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your family members, if they have time, if they are between the ages of 21 to 65, they should walk into any of these health centers and screen. So that's the main take-home message for us as Telecel Foundation. So I think the videos are ready. We'll watch it before I call on our presenters to join me here for that short conversation. We'll just hit and strike it hot at the heart. Are we ready with the video messages? Okay. So in line with consent from the people who were featured, we are going to play just the audio messages from them. So now we can listen to it. They did not want their faces to show up in the communication. So over to you. Let's hear what they have to say.
Cancer and I science and I'm so mighty so eco hospital. But so far as I say, you ain't taking it serious. You my name brave for that cancer because you have a sex emoji about pains bia and ba bibia and ba into no asɛ just sɛ mogya no na ɛba nkakra nkakra nti yɛdu baabi na yɛkɔ hospital a na yɛyɛ kɔtwa scan na kɔyɛ si afidu baabi na sɛ sika no ɛkɔ bebree wokɔtwa scan no so a ɔmo nka biribiara ɔmo yɛkɔ na bra saa na yɛsan forget yɛ bɛsi yɛnteki abibiduro biara sɛ yɛteki abibiduro daabi yɛnteki bi nti ɔhwɛ a within last year May mu hɔnom May June July mu na aka sɛ ɛhɔ a na mogya ɛtu nti ɛno no saa na yɛde kɔɔ hospital kɔhu sɛ ɛsɛ ne deɛ ɛkɔ no akɔ anim nti na ɛwɔ sɛ yɛtim san ɛba baabi a ɛbɛtumi ɛnya mmoa kɛseɛ afiri ɛna ɛma yɛde bɛpie hanom no nti sɛsie no deɛ ɛkɔduru no ne sɛ doctors for no kyerɛ sɛ ade sɛ ɔmo de bɛto chemo na ɔmo yɛ nti chemo no mmom na yɛgu so a yɛyɛ a na ɛsɛ yɛsan baeɛ a yare asan bom nti agye sɛ ahoɔden no ɛkɔ soro kakra ansa na ama yɛatumi ayɛ chemo no nti nyame baabi aduru deɛ yɛnim sɛ nyame ebi mpo a na nyankopɔn koraa ma chemo no koraa ama so na biribiara afiri hɔ na anigye aba fie yareɛ no de yɛbaeɛ no nsonsansoɔ deɛ ɛwɔ hɔ a na wei abɛbɔ mu woba ɔmo sisei ɛnɛ ɔmo kɔ a nti no ɛsɛ ɛyɛ so many things ebi ba a ɔmo sɛ kidney akɔ affect wo kidney ebi ba a ɔmo sɛ affect wo heart ebi ba a ɔmo sɛ ayɛ sei nti no ɛnɛ nso ɔmo ba a na asan asesa na asan adane nti deɛ ewiase so to afa ho to nyame so cause nyankopɔn etimi yɛ adeɛ nyinaa.
That was somewhere, let's say, somewhere 2024 or 2020, yeah, maybe 2023 to 2024. I started bleeding heavily and I was losing weight, but I didn't set my mind on anything. I set my mind straight on family planning because I did some time ago. So I thought it was the consequence, but later how the bleeding was becoming serious and heavy, and I had to go to the hospital. I came to 37. That was um last year, February, and that was how I got to know it's cervical cancer. I've been to several hospitals with the bleeding. They also said some of them were like hemorrhagic cyst. Some of them were like it's just normal anemia. It was 37 that they checked, and I had to do MRI, and they had to do they had to cut part of me down there to the lab to find out what is causing the bleeding. That was how they got to know it's cervical cancer, stage 2B. The life itself is not, it's surprising. So I just take it normal. But sometimes when I'm there, it hits me because I don't know what exactly that particular thing may cause me. So I was just there. I was just there thinking, oh, it's just something normal. Maybe I might get a herbal medicine or some orthodox medicine that it will clear it off, but no avail. So I was 2nd of this month, 2nd of January 2026, and I started having a severe abdominal pain, and I came back here, and they said it's developing, and I'm still losing weight just because of that. It has made me stop all my activities. Anything that brings money or something, it's make me stop because I can't do anything again. I'm losing weight, and it's even causing me constipation. And I feel pain all the time because it's growing. So I feel pain all the time. Sometimes you can't even walk. You feel very weak and tired. I would tell them to, now that this cervical cancer thing is spreading and is killing a lot of young ladies, I would advise that every month or every 2 months, ladies are out there should go to hospital to check, to do checkup or to do pap smear, so that if something of that is in their system, they will work on it fast so that it will not get to my level. Yes, because somebody may not endure the pain, because it's really, really painful. Someone may not endure the pain, so it's better you always go to check up.
Ti dɛ mɛsrɛ sɛ me nua wɔ hɔ na sɛ wote hɔ na wohu nneɛma bi wɔ w'abrabɔ mu, ebi ate hɔ wohwɛ w'asetena mu, wɔ nneɛma bi wɔ hɔ a ɔnam nsuom nkɔ yie a, ɛwɔ sɛ ntɛmpɔ tutu mirika kɔhu hospital. Wokɔ hospital na doctors foɔ so afiri wo, anaasɛ wo nipadua no to na sɛ wonhu nneɛma bi wɔ nipadua mu yie a, kɔ hospital. Ɛnyɛ sɛ mekɔtɔ aduro, mekɔ drugstore, dabi. Painkillers no so no, affect so many things. And then the name of bebree eba, the name of bebree ba. Into to hona say bia, uba bi do do kakra. No one is oko hospital. Wafa, Uganda insurance card as Ghana card. Na ko hospital. Say doctors for be wa. Say man nema any too late. Ebia ye hu nim tem no. Senka ye hu. Eso anon tema anka and say but me de me wo me gidie ewo nyankopon mu say bia kimo no mpo no e ma so because binim say ba bia me da no ne ba bia me call ya amasen afiri ho abeduru ano nyame age me enti kimo hono a doctors for na bi o mo ano say afiri bi cancer but me dear me jintum say cancer.
Please, ladies out there, we should be very careful of the things we do and always go to hospital to check yourself, because this cervical cancer is a serious sickness that is hitting everybody nowadays. You know, when you are young and naive,
Wow. Those are the voices
some things you just take
of women who are treating cervical cancer diagnosis. A round of applause for them, just for speaking out, just for sharing their stories and putting their lessons and advice out there. Prof. Chair, permit me to invite our panel for a very brief discussion. I'll call upon the head of reproductive health, Professor Kweku Anso-Opoku, who was our first presenter. A round of applause for him as he joins us. Also, gynecologist Dr. James Nikwe. And finally, nurse specialist Naomi Oti, who is the head of nursing for radiotherapy. Yes. And we'll come to you, the audience. Based on the presentations you watched, do you have any questions you want to ask? I know there are some burning ones. You know people in real life who may be living with it or trying to manage it or have survived it. So you may also have questions. So you also come in and ask. A round of applause for our panel. Okay. I mean, we had them. These are, I think, 32, 33-year-old women who are facing cervical cancer diagnosis, currently trying to manage it. I think the question people are having mostly is, I don't know what happens when I go for screening. I'm scared. Yes, you've spoken a bit about what happens in the screening, but I want you to go a bit more into detail, and I don't know which of you want to take this. What does the screening process entail if any woman should walk into the diagnostic center now? What process do you take them through?
So when a woman walks in for the screening, we'll first want to know why she's come for the screening. Has she had screening done before? And if she's had, what were the results? The next is to take her through what the procedure will entail. So we are going to tell her that this is what we are going to do. We are going to have a look at your cervix. To get access to your cervix, we need to pass a speculum. That is where the discomfort, or where some would term pain, comes from. So if we're able to get past the discomfort, the rest is a bit straightforward. Like I said earlier, the main thing we are interested in is the cells around what we call the transformation zone. That is the part of the cervix or the womb that actively changes with hormones and different stages of the woman's life. And that's where a lot of cervical cancer occurs. So in sampling that, we'll use the brush. Based on what we get, we'll put in the fluid medium or preservative and send to the pathologist, and the pathologist will read. So by way of screening, depending on whether we are doing the HPV or the cytology, the access is similar. If you are screening by the other modalities where WHO calls as the see and treat modalities, that's where you stain the cervix, the transformation zone, with fluid, 3 to 5% acetic acid or Lugol's iodine. And based on the changes, if they are looking low grade, you go straight ahead and treat. And we are treating either by freezing or we are using what we call thermal ablation. Those are the modalities we have for the different types.
That was a bit technical. How long would this whole process take?
If we get past the discomfort of passing the speculum, it's a bit between 5 to 10 minutes we are done.
5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes we are done.
Wow, that's brief. So for every woman out there who is wondering, I don't have 2 hours to spare in the hospital. Within 10 minutes after the first stage, you should be done with that. I mean, another issue is what is preventing a lot of people to come out for screening. I don't know if you've engaged with some of them, Professor. What are some of the challenges?
All right, thank you. So there are a few challenges. One is got to do with the fact that there are so many people who've never heard about pap smear. Every now and then we sit in the consulting room, people come in, maybe for other services. And then you ask them, have you had a pap smear before? And invariably, the answer is always, what is that? It's always the answer you keep getting. And these are not people who are not educated. These are sometimes highly educated people. So I think one of the key problems is that there's a lot of work for us to do in terms of educating people on pap smear, which is, screening, or maybe HPV screening, which is screening for cervical cancer. I think the other thing is what you mentioned about the fact that people will be, even the people who know, will be asking themselves, what if? Hey, if I go and do this thing, they find something. Hey, where am I taking it? Then the other thing is, if I go and do this thing, I mean, there's a proverb that says that if your eyes, it's a literal translation, if your eyes don't see, like see no evil, then it means that you are basically covering it. But the thing
They say whatever you're looking for, you find.
You find, yes. But you see, in terms of cervical cancer, the screening helps you to pick up things when they are happening very early so that something can be done about it for you. And whether you look for it or you don't look for it, if it is there, it will stay there and fester. So it is your own interest to go and look for it. It is not one of those things, it is not your screening that is going to cause the thing to happen. Whether you screen or not, if it is there, it would go on. So it is in your own interest to screen. If you find something there, it will be treated for you because it is likely to be found very early. If you don't, and say, hey, I don't want to hear anything, you would hear something that is bigger than your ears can accommodate when you go later on. So please, let's all take that bit about what if away and let's take the bold step to get screened. I mean, if you do one screening, you have about 3 to 5 years to do the next. So there's enough room for you to wait and go for the next screening. So I think that's also one key thing that is preventing people from screening. I mean, the other bit is what people term discomfort of screening. I mean, it is not a painful process. We'll describe it as a process that is uncomfortable, especially, because we have to, the speculum that we use, there are different sizes of the speculum, so it is our duty to make your experience comfortable. All right? Make sure that we select the right speculum, make sure we create the right atmosphere for you to have, a very comfortable screening process. That's our duty as caregivers. So please, if you hear that somebody has had a screening somewhere and says that, oh, it is very painful, that person may be one out of a lot. Ask other people too. They may tell you that, well, it's uncomfortable, but not as painful as the person would talk about. And that one period of having discomfort cannot be compared to you having cervical cancer later on in life. You have to put the two together. They are contrasting situations. So you are better off going through that little bit of discomfort compared to having cervical cancer, which is, now big later on in life. So that is how I would address this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nurse, I want to come to you. So in the unlikely situation that someone screens, a woman screens, and they are diagnosed of maybe early stage cervical cancer, what happens next?
Thank you very much. Before I answer the question, listen to the women narrating their story. I was sad. As an added on to what Prof said, I think another challenge is access and affordability. People know and knowing where to go to in terms of access. Some counted where they have gone to several places and then not able to, they're able to diagnose and had to carry all the way to 37. Apart from that, knowledge of the health caregiver, the health providers also knowing what to do, a delay, and that could have, if it was seen early, that would have helped us being able to have prompt treatment. But in terms of if being diagnosed early, you ask whether when they get diagnosed, there are different treatment. And usually, if it's quite early, there's surgery is an option. And then there is radiotherapy. Okay. Chemo may come in and later on, but most of the time for early cancers, cervical cancer, if it's which Prof talked about, that one, they could do colposcopy, ablation, and the like. But if it's normal stage 1 cancer, cervical cancer, we could have surgery and or radiotherapy.
They all sound like very expensive options and treatments. So usually, is it under the National Health Insurance Scheme? Is there any cover in terms of insurance for someone who is diagnosed?
Yes and no. Because it's stated that cervical cancer is being taken care of by insurance. But the reality on the ground is not like that. Maybe surgery. But in terms of radiotherapy, you have to full costs cover, you have to pay full. And I know plans far in advance. There had been some technical group who are working on to make sure that that is inculcated into a system. I know Confanochi, patients who go to Confanochi do not pay for radiotherapy because they have put them in a system. But for those of us in Accra, Kolebu, we've not done that, but there's a technical group that is working on it with the National Health Insurance to make sure that that is inculcated. And I think the fear was how to make sure that there's full cost recovery because every year we have to pay some amount over more than $100,000 a year just for a license to operate the machine. So you need to make sure that there's full cost recovery to be able to maintain the machine and still take care of others. So it's quite expensive. But we are hoping that they've gone far. So hoping that maybe this year or later, cervical cancer will be taken care of by the NHIS. But pre-diagnosis is not part. So I think we are all here. We should be able to advocate. And there are a lot of people. We are in the process of reviewing the cancer plan. So I believe that all of you are here to push forth and make sure that it becomes a reality.
Yeah. Great. A round of applause for her. Please call your MPs to push in Parliament. Write them an email, write them a letter that they should ensure that cervical cancer treatment is part of the National Health Insurance Scheme. They are there to represent you and make laws in your favor. So please, let's use what we have to put pressure on our leaders. Let's talk about the vaccine. I know during COVID, when you get a vaccine, it's unlikely you will get the disease. How does it work for cervical cancer? Can any woman get the vaccine? When they get it, are they covered? And can they get it at any age at all? What's the truth? What should women know about the HPV vaccine?
I think Prof talked about the HPV different variants. And
Prof can come in when you're done.
okay, so it's just like a vaccine, but you will have people may have one or two reactions. But I think I've seen people who have had it and they didn't feel anything. There was nothing.
What type of reactions are people getting?
Usually, people may have a little flu-like symptoms. But if not, I think it's something that is well managed and they are fine.
All right, Prof, what should people know about the vaccine?
Okay, so one, the vaccine is protective against cervical cancer. That is very important. At the moment, once you get a vaccine, we don't have what we call boosters. Like, you don't need to later on in life go and have the vaccine again. That is also very important. Now, even though we mentioned the age range 9 to 14 years, which is the ideal time to have the vaccine, if you are gone beyond that age, you would still benefit from the vaccine. It is not going to be as fully beneficial as those who would get it between 9 and 14 years. But even those who are in their 50s, if they want to have the vaccine, they can have it. What we say is that usually for people who've been sexually active, they may probably have been exposed to some variants of the virus. And every variant of the virus that you have been exposed to, you are not likely to get protection from the vaccine against that particular variant, but you will get protection against others. So let's say somebody has been sexually active, has been exposed to HPV 16, but that person has not been exposed to HPV 18 or 31 or 33. If you give that person, let's say, the Gardasil 9, for instance, it won't protect that person against the HPV 16 because she's been, already exposed to it. But the others that she's not been exposed to, she would be protected against that. So anybody can have the vaccine, but particularly let's push so that our children between 9 and 14 years would have it, because then they get the full benefits of the vaccine before being exposed to the vaccine. Now, the vaccine is very safe. I mean, recently the nation had, some wide-scale vaccination of school children. We barely had any serious side effects. Like she said, sometimes a few reddening at the site of injection, sometimes a few fever-like symptoms, but no serious side effects have been documented as far as the vaccine is concerned. So that shouldn't be like something that should cause people to fear. I think mainly people worry because of all the myths that we talked about, that the vaccine will cause infertility, the vaccine, is a ploy by some people to cause people in this part of our world not to give children and all of that. But these are not true. They are all myths. And so we should all try and help this generation to have the vaccination. The places where their incidence is gone so low, there are some countries where their incidence is gone so low, they are virtually taking cervical cancer out of those places. They are doing two key things. One, vaccinating everybody, and then two, making sure that people are in a screening program religiously. And once you do that, you can beat down the burden of cervical cancer. For us, I think that the first step is to ramp up education. Because if you don't know, you won't take a step. You only take a step if you know that, there's something even called cervical cancer. There's screening for it. And if you don't know, then you won't take the step. So as a country, I think education is key for us. And then the rest would follow.
Wow, round of applause. This is really what I was looking to hear. So if we all get vaccinated against it, no matter our age, and push that our younger family members and friends also get it, it means we are one step protective. So let's take it. And I think one of the biggest challenges for clinical professionals is vaccine misinformation and disinformation. There's so much misinformation out there. You know, misinformation is when you don't know and you share. It's a lie, but you are just sharing because you saw it. But disinformation is when it's calculated. People sit down to push that narrative because of an agenda they have. So as medical professionals, another thing is battling that, because you may have the best medicines, but if people don't believe and trust in it, they will not come forward to take it. So for every platform we get, please, let's beat out misinformation and disinformation by stating out the facts and the truth as it is. Let's counter it anywhere we are. And I get malaria like every 6 months, so I'm looking for a malaria vaccine to end it. It's in. So for that department, if there's one, to get it. So let's push for vaccines. Let's do it because it's safe. Dr. Nikwe, I'm thinking of, are there at-risk women? Are there actions and lifestyles that women are taking that can increase their chances of getting cervical cancer? Is there something like that? Are there people at risk because of their genetic?
You see the person is increasing their risk of cervical cancer. But besides the point, no matter how risky the lifestyle is, there is treatment. The screening tool is there. I might say that for those at risk, be it from HIV or immunosuppression of some sort, the screening is a bit different. What we'd rather do is, for example, if there's HIV, at the time that the woman is diagnosed of HIV, her screening starts then. So it's not like the typical one where you have to wait for 25 to 30 years before you start screening. Once the woman is diagnosed, you start screening her from that sexually active and diagnosed. So you start screening her almost immediately. She tests positive. And the interval of screening is different. Some would go yearly for a period. Some also have advocated 3 years and not the 5. So whichever one you decide to take, depending on the school you are choosing, you are going to screen them more frequently than you would someone whose immunity is within normal. So yes, there may be a risk group by way of profession or by way of lifestyle, by way of whatever would take any of these risk factors. But the whole point is that regardless of what it is, as long as you are screening, you have a chance to beat cervical cancer.
Wow. Important. Yeah, Prof, you have an addition?
Okay, right, so thank you. So yes, Dr. Nikwe is mentioning the risk factors, but we've seen patients who've never been sexually active who've come with cervical cancer. It's important to know that. So it's important that as people screen latter part of their years, they should, I think people sometimes have the notion that, I've never been sexually promiscuous. My partner has never been sexually promiscuous, so why should I be screening for cervical cancer? All right? But like I'm saying, there have been cases of people who've had cervical cancer who've even never been sexually active. So screening it's not for only the at-risk group. Screening is for everybody. Secondly, in terms of the vaccination, for those who not vaccinate within the ideal age group between 9 and 14 years, who would vaccinate, like most of our staff here who would want to vaccinate, your vaccination will be 2 doses and not 1 single dose like we are having for the girls in the schools. They are in the appropriate age, so a single vaccination is very protective for them. Those who fall outside that age, it'll be good. The WHO says you'll be good to have 2 doses of the vaccination. You have 1 now. 6 months after that, you have the second dose, and that gives you a very good level of protection. So it's important. The third thing I want to say is that vaccination does not replace screening. If you vaccinate, it doesn't mean that then that is it. So you don't screen again. Because remember, the vaccines may not be 100% protective if you listen to the discussion we are having. So even if you are vaccinated, you still need to keep on doing your screening schedule every 3 to 5 years, depending on what you are doing, because the vaccination does not take the place of the screening. It protects you, but you still need to go on screening. So if you don't leave here with any message at all, just know that the fact that you've gone to vaccinate does not mean then you should go and sleep. Vaccination does not replace screening. You vaccinate and then you continue doing your screening schedule. It's important to send that message across. Thank you very much.
Great. Fantastic. So we'll come to the audience if there are any questions. But Prof, is the vaccine for free? Can I get it anywhere?
So the vaccine is not for free, and that is also one thing we need to contend. I mean, depending on where you get it from. The one that the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service is doing in our schools is for free. So that is like a very giant step for us as a country. They intend to put that on the expanded program of immunization, which is our normal vaccination schedule for children. That is also going to be free if that is done. But for the vaccine, especially those who don't fall within that age category, I mean, like for most of us here, it means you have to get the vaccine at a cost. All right? And depending on the type of vaccine you are getting, if you are getting the Gardasil, which is the one which is against 4, strains of the HPV, you are looking at sometimes somewhere between, depending on where, maybe 800 to about 1,002 Ghana cedis per shot. All right? If you are getting 2 shots, then you get 1 shot now, 6 months. Yeah, but, sometimes if you calculate what you do in terms of, the things even water that you buy and drink, remember, this is life-saving. So we are all hoping that in the course of time, the prices would come low. But even if it's 1,000 per shot, and in 6 months' time, you need to get another shot for something that is life-saving, you can compare that to having the cervical cancer itself, embracing yourself up for all the preparations that come with it. I mean, sometimes people get out of job because they are so ill because of cervical cancer, and they can't even work to fend for themselves and their families. You don't want to get to that stage. So it's important. So that is for the quadrivalent. The nonavalent, which contains 9 against 9 strains, is close to about 3,000 per shot, Ghana cedis. So you are looking at around 2,500 to about 3,000, 3,500, sometimes depending on where you get this vaccine from. So these are the realities. But, these are also demand and supply issues. We think that the more people get informed and the more people are getting the vaccines, maybe because of the things about demand and supply, maybe the prices may get a bit better. And we hope that in the course of time, we can get this eaten down so more people can get the vaccination.
That's expensive, but let's try our best. Let's write to our MPs to push so it's added to the National Health Insurance Scheme so we all can get the vaccine for free. Are there any questions in the audience? I'll just take 2 questions, if possible. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Shelley Boatinjesi. If I'm well informed, I've heard that the age bracket for the vaccine to work effectively is between 9 and 14 years. What happens to somebody who has never been sexually active? It's about age 30. When she goes for the vaccine for the first time, is it necessary for her to have the second shot because she missed the 9 to 12-year period? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, so it's important that the person gets the second shot, even though the person has not been sexually active. I mean, apart from being sexually active, that age group, from the trials that they've done, it is the one injection works for that age group 9 to 14. When you've moved beyond, especially beyond 21, then it doesn't work so well having that single shot, even when you haven't become sexually active. So they fall into a different category. So it's not just about sexual activity, but the trials have shown what that age group does. And things about vaccine, it's not just about, but it's got to do with your response to the vaccine. And different age categories have different responses to the vaccines. And that's how come the trials buttress this kind of evidence. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Nancy, and my name is Nancy, and I have the cervical, sorry, I had the vaccine some years ago, but back then we were taking 3 shots, Severus, back then. And with what has been said, looks like the new vaccine takes care of certain variants. One you mentioned 4, and the other one 9. So I want to find out if I need to take the new one or the Severus is okay for a lifetime. And I just keep repeating the screening because I'm not so sure if the Severus also took care of, or is the Severus took care of all the variants or some variants.
Okay.
Because now you are telling us some of the vaccine takes care of certain variants.
Right.
I don't know about the Severus.
Okay, so thank you. I mean, won't urge you, if you've had a complete dosing of the Severus, to go and start vaccinating all over. I mean, there have been some trials that have shown that even the Gardasil, which is against 4, the protectiveness that it gives is, I mean, not too different from the people who are getting the Gardasil 9. So we won't say that maybe somebody has got Gardasil 4. And so because of that, you should go and start Gardasil 9. No, if you've had Severix and it was complete, just follow your screening schedule and you are very good to go. Remember when we spoke, we also said that even though we mentioned categorical viral strains, sometimes there are strains that are not in the vaccine, but they cross-protect against other strains. So you may have something in there which is protective against 16, but it can cross over and protect you against 31, even though that is not in that particular vaccine. So these factors all come to play when it comes to protection. So no need to go and restart all over again. Just continue your screening schedule and you should be fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm told we don't have time, so I'll have to go. But there's a lady here that wants to ask a question so bad, so we'll just take that one. And then, can you please project? Can you project?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that as for the second bit of the question, you've answered it. I mean, the age, sometimes people push 25, some say 30. We haven't, as a country, really, but they need to be screened as they move along. Coming 25 onwards, they need to be screened. Like I've said, the screening does not or the vaccination does not replace screening. Neither does screening replace vaccination. You need to do that too. So definitely when they fall within that age category, they need to be screened. Now what the country used was Gardasil 4. So that is, it contains the 6 and the 11, 16 and 18 strains. That is what was used for the nationwide vaccination. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists. A round of applause for them. Professor Kweku Ansa Opoku, Dr. James Nikwe, and nurse specialist Naomi Oti. Thank you so much for your submissions. Yes, so I'll hand over now to Reverend Rose Edufo to continue the program.
I think we can do it better for them. Yeah, the moderator and the panelists, we have learned a lot. Thank you so much. Even as we are almost bringing the program to an end, we'll take the closing remark from the chairperson, and then quickly we take the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Reverend Rus Edufo. I'm sure you'll all agree with me that this has been a very, very successful program launch for the cervical cancer awareness campaign. Because some people were not here right from the beginning of this program, let me take this opportunity to just summarize and mention some key points that have been made here. So that when you go home or you leave this auditorium and somebody asks you, at least you have something to say. I think we started with the address by the representative from Telecel. And one key point I took from his submission was the commitment of Telecel to support cervical cancer prevention through the donation of screening equipment and supplies to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital that should cover about 10,000 patients to have free screening for the next 3 years. That is a pledge from Telecel, and I think we have applauded them so many times for that. And we hold them by that promise. I have Kobina, Mr. Kobina Buame's phone number here. So we are going to call him to remind him about that. And I know Telecel, when they pledge, they deliver. We also received a commitment from Ghana Medical Trust Fund to partner with well-meaning Ghanaians and corporate organizations to help in the fight against chronic diseases, including cervical cancer, through the Mahama Care. Our own CEO also emphasized Kolebu Teaching Hospital's commitment to lead in the provision of comprehensive cervical cancer prevention and treatment services, and that we are already doing. And the launch of this program is part of that service. From our panelists' discussion, it's obvious, as it came out, that the success in stopping cervical cancer relies on sustained public education to create awareness about the disease. Secondly, making vaccination and screening services available to women of all ages and providing access to comprehensive treatment and rehabilitation. This, from my point of view, has been the key message that has been delivered through this program this morning through the afternoon. Let me commend all of you who have sat quietly and patiently and waited for all these deliveries. Let me also commend you for your active participation when it came to the asking of questions during the panelists' discussions. All too soon, we have come to the end of this program, and we want to say a very big thank you on behalf of the organizers, and we believe that as you leave this place, you will be good messengers of this launch, that you go out and throughout the year, you talk about cervical cancer prevention so that we save the women of Ghana from this debilitating disease that is taking so many lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I know it's really been a lot of fruitful deliberation, and then we've had an interesting moment. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of the team at the Reproductive Health Center, the department, we would want to say a big thank you to Telecel, a big thank you to the media team, a big thank you to the engineers, a big thank you to you who came in here. If you hadn't been present, I don't think this program would have been that fruitful and beautiful. And so please, as we're going to share a word of prayer, please be seated as the protocol team quickly share out. I'll do it quickly. As the protocol team quickly share out the parcels. I know if you step out, we have, by God's grace, enough for everyone. But if you step out, nobody is sharing at the entrance. So if you want to be served, please comfortably sit down and you would be attended to. We have enough, by God's grace, for every one of you. Please, if you step out at the entrance, you won't get. It is right from in front going. Thank you so much. So I'll call Miss Peggy to give the closing prayer. Thank you.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father, we thank you for this event. We thank you for this afternoon. And we thank you for how far you've brought each and every single one of us. We pray and ask that whatever we've been able to learn here, let us practice it and let us be preachers of cervical cancer. We pray for everybody that's sick from cervical cancer as well, that you stretch your healing hands upon all of them. Father, we pray for our partners, anyone who made this event a success. Father, we pray and ask that wherever they got money to make this event a success, that you replenish them in 1,000 folds. Father, send us to our various destinations safely, so that at the end of it all, glory and honor shall be given unto your holy name. In Jesus' name we've prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.